Hello everyone. Background.
I can see it.
Even though that's not on.
Correct. Yeah.
Right.
So it's pumping through this one instead of
This one.
Yeah.
Hello everyone. Had some technical difficulties there, but yeah.
new stuff.
Speaking of new stuff, we should be getting a green screen in the next 3, 4, or 5 days.
So hopefully she'll be against the actual background of this instead of you getting to see the little outline. Yes. So it'll be her chair, the black TV and stuff is going away, so you'll get to see a bit more of the room.
Got a real YouTuber.
Yeah.
In the meantime, I do thank you all for your support. I couldn't do this without you. I appreciate it.
And as always, don't forget, subscribe to her Patreon to get behind the scenes videos and access to other fun things.
Yes. So today we have a rather special episode for you guys. There'll be a brief overview of content because we're running short of time. I'll have a more advanced recitation and examination on my blogs. But I want to do something for the remembrance coming up. So we are featuring the assault on Pearl Harbor, which is December 7th, 1941.
Wait, what's Pearl Harbor? Isn't that a movie?
Oh my god, one of the worst historical movies of all time.
Well, technically, if we're talking about the Michael Bay Pearl Harbor, then yes. But
if you're referring to a Tora, that's different.
Yeah.
If you're going to look to watch one new movie on Pearl Harbor at all, I do recommend Tora. It's created by two production companies, one American and one Japanese.
Yes, the Japanese actually helped. Imagine how you get a better movie when you actually have both sides.
And with the we're talking the full production crews. So you have a Japanese production crew, staff, cast, director, everything, and then the American side with production cast, whatever else.
The only thing that Michael Bay got right was the actual amount of explosions on Pearl Harbor and how graphic they were. That's it.
Pretty much it, yeah. Pearl Harbor is, of course, a current naval base, of course, obviously. It's known as Joint Base Pearl Harbor Hickam, a combination of Pearl Harbor Naval Base and Hickam Air Force Base.
Yeah.
It was a product of the 2010 edition of Base Realignments and Closures for Congress.
Also, for those of you, it has been beaten to death on its experience in many games like Medal of Honor Pacific Assault. No, nobody asked us to say this. We're just referencing how many times you get to experience it in different ways. There have been countless documentaries about it.
Countless video games, almost countless movies.
Yeah. Almost to the point of the only thing that it has more of, or it has less of, is the amount of World War II video games.
Actually, the only thing it has less of is actual historical documentaries and historical explanations.
That's true.
The actual explanation being that it was an attack, it was a gamble more than anything else. That the end result brought America into the war. The background of that is very interesting, actually, because it was a preemptive assault with 3 aims. The first being to deprive America of its Pacific fleet, or anything else. The second aim being to secure oil and resources in the West Ocean. Because with America out of the picture, they can secure all the natural resources they need. And the third goal being that they can keep the largest nation, who is a thorn in their side, out of their goal and aims in the East Indies.
So basically, it was Japan building up BDE so much that it could then smack America with its BDE. Yes, I'm not saying it because of YouTube. Screw you, YouTube. Smash America with his BD to back off and let them basically pork the ever-loving crap out of everywhere west of Hawaii.
Pretty much. And, I mean, for them, west of Hawaii is well, yeah, Philippines, Malaysia, or Malaya, essentially, at that point in time.
Guam,
Guam, Singapore,
Midway.
well, maybe to an extent, but notably Singapore, the Philippines, um, God,
China, Korea,
China, Korea, essentially,
and Australia.
yeah, all of which the Japanese saw as less than them, subhuman.
Yeah.
Very subhuman, by the way.
Think of it as, and just making a guess on this, Americans to Native Americans.
Yeah, pretty much. They may have signed a non-aggression and later tripartite pact with Japan and Italy, thus and tripartite. But Hitler and Mussolini had no intention of ever honoring that, should Japan be victorious.
Well, also, of course, the two of them thought of the Japanese as lesser than them.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of a little hierarchy.
If you were to ask Hitler, he would say the only race that's number one is the Aryan race. And the only pure Aryan race are Germans. The German people are the ultimate Aryan race.
Which is kind of funny because the true Aryan race is the Scandinavians, but that's a whole other discussion. We're getting off topic.
We're getting very off topic here. So back in Asia, essentially, very vast territory, we're going to concentrate on Japan because a recently promoted fleet admiral named Ishiroku Yamamoto did not want to go to war with America. He did not terribly love the Americans by any means, but he didn't hate them either.
He respected them and didn't want to mess with them.
He had lived in America for years, and he had a degree from Harvard.
And also, wasn't the entire reason that Japan, especially certain parts of the military, were riding high is because of how they, probably about a decade ago or so, had basically beaten the crap out of the Russians?
Yeah. They figured that if they could defeat the Russians, especially at the ultimate battle of Tsushima Bay in 1903, they could do it again with America. They saw nothing stopping them. In fact, most of the Japanese hierarchy in the military viewed the Americans as nothing more than lazy, good-for-nothing, lethargic slobs living high in a lap of luxury, sipping champagne, cowardly, hating war, not willing to fight.
Well, in Japan's defense, America was kind of pushing a big thing after World War I of not getting involved in anything and just kind of letting it all happen.
This is true. America was very isolationist.
Mm-hmm.
So, basically, the Emperor was on board with Yamamoto in that Hirohito did not want war at all with America. The cabinet, however, which was half composed of army and half composed of navy, that was a war in itself because the army hated the navy and vice versa.
And of course, all of them wanted to go into everything for, hey, honor through battle.
That was mostly the army. The navy viewed it as honor through serving the emperor. I mean, glory in battle, yes, but first and foremost was glory to the emperor. By serving the emperor, you bring glory to yourself and your house.
Hence with the Bushido Code or something?
Hence with their bastardization of the Bushido Code.
Ah, yes.
At that time, the Bushido Code had existed for 2,000 years. But after 70... no, wasn't that long. Around, 7 months. I'm sorry, 7 months. Back and forth in the Japanese Diet and the Congress, essentially, and everything else. They finally had concurrence and acceptance of Yamamoto's reluctant plan to attack Pearl Harbor. See, you have to understand that when the Emperor asked Yamamoto if we were to go to war with America, I'm paraphrasing here, if we were to go to war with America, how soon could you defeat them? Yamamoto took off his hat, his naval cap, his cover, and said, Your Majesty, if we go to war with America, I cannot promise to defeat them. I can promise to keep them on the run for 6 months. After that, I can make no promises. And lo and behold, wouldn't you know it, he called it to a T.
And also, if you want to see all of this, we will link in the description below the name of that one documentary.
The Admiral.
Docu-movie.
Docu-movie, yes. Edutainment.
Yes. Word of warning for those of you who want to watch it. Enjoy reading subtitles.
I mean, everyone should read subtitles. That's just my personal opinion.
Oh, yeah. In the original if it's not in the original Japanese, it loses something.
It really does. But, finally, in late November, of all things, gotta remember, the attack happened December 7th. In late November, Emperor Hirohito finally signed off on the acceptance for Yamamoto's plan. His plan was conceived by himself, but designed, mostly designed by Captain Kirishima and Commander Minoru Genda. Now, Genda was famous for his support of the aircraft in war. He said that he who controls the skies controls the seas and thus the world.
And yet he never really got credit for it.
No, he didn't, and you should have. Genda was amazing. Genda became chief of staff and later admiral under the American occupation in '46 before retiring.
But we'll touch on that at another time.
At another time, yes. That's just into biography, and we don't quite have enough time for that today. So, in late November, well, actually around the 27th or so, the Japanese fleet departs Shikoku Bay in the Kuril Islands in northern Japan, of all things. The day before the Emperor signs off on the attack. But Admiral Yamamoto says that if the Emperor decides to abort the attack, or the final negotiation message to Washington, D.C. Is approved and they work out their agreements, then we will not attack. And everyone goes into an uproar, and Yamamoto basically says, "Enough! Silence! This is an order. If any man refuses to do his duty for the Emperor and for myself and for his country, let him resign now." In that tone. Even more vicious, really.
The man was very calm but very forceful when he needed to be.
He was very soft-spoken and actually very nice to be around. But he was an admiral for good reason. And he could let the hammer drop when it came down to it.
And that was even after potential assassinations.
Many. From the academy to the ministry and elsewhere. I mean, oh my god. But yeah, essentially, that quieted everyone down. Of course, we know that the negotiations fell through, and the Emperor signed off on the attack, and went forward. Now, on November 29th or so, the cruisers Tone and Shikoku launch their scout float planes.
And also during this time, they had been getting entire diagrams of Battleship Row and everything else, right?
This is where they came from.
Oh, okay.
They also had Japanese spies in the island.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. Which relayed to various listening posts and back to the fleet.
And wasn't it their ambassador or somebody who went around and, like, took a plane and then just took pictures from the top down and sent them off?
No.
That was something done by Hollywood later on?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's for base feature film.
I thought it was also done in Tora, wasn't it?
So, meanwhile, while all this scouting and planning is going on, Cordell Hull, our Secretary of State, ambassador, and their ambassador, Nakamura, I believe. We're checking back and forth in D.C. And Roosevelt is trying to play peacekeeper, negotiator, and isolationist presence between Nazi Germany, Mussolini's fascist Italy, and now teetering on the brink of war, Japan.
Basically because Japan was wanting more stuff, tired of getting pushed around, and Americans had been kind of being kind of a lot of that, following the footsteps of the British, hadn't they?
Pretty much. Gotta keep in mind, America had authorization and command of over the production of over 2 million barrels of oil, of crude oil, at the time, per year.
We had just started getting that stuff pushed over from Arabia, right?
Mm-hmm. And the biggest oil stores were in the South Pacific at the time.
And that was Indonesian oil, right?
Mm-hmm. Which was governed by us.
Which was governed by us with assistance from Australia.
Which meant local assistance from Australia.
Yeah.
Chief assistance from Britain, because back then Australia was still under the auspices of His Royal Majesty.
Same thing with Burma and India.
In India and Indochina.
Yeah. All that was under control of the British Empire.
Which made up the empire. So, around the November 30th, the final day of November, scout planes from Tone and Shikoku finally returned with all their data, all their photographs, supplies, and the information was transmitted to the fleet. Yamamoto gave the go-ahead about 4 days later.
And they, of course, the float planes flew in, no markings, right?
None except for a very small red dot to symbolize Japan. And they were IHE A2N full planes. They had maybe one 30 caliber machine gun for self-defense, which we know would do next to nothing.
Yeah. That's kind of basically like a 30 caliber Browning.
Yeah.
Ooh.
But they combined with a small fleet of submarines. Submarines.
Yes, the mini subs.
Midget submarines.
Yeah.
Managed to gain all the information they needed from Pearl Harbor and surroundings. Now, this wasn't a failure on the Japanese part. This was also a failure on the Americans' part. Japanese did everything right as far as the teching goes.
Well, we got lucky.
We got lucky, and the fact that our industrial might was so powerful, we could actually raise 6 of 8 battleships.
But we'll get to that in a second.
Yeah. But it was also the fault of General Martin Short, who was the Army Commander-in-Chief of Pearl Harbor's forces there.
Wasn't he the arrogant ass who said that he wanted all the planes parked together?
Mm-hmm. That's what I'm getting to. Because he wanted all the fighters on the island, all 140 some odd aircraft, parked wingtip to wingtip along the cordon of the airfields.
And that was because he had gotten
Because
reports.
he feared sabotage.
Well, he had gotten reports of potential saboteurs.
Potential saboteurs. No concrete proof, no evidence, no evidentiary support, nothing.
But they thought they were saboteurs because they were taking pictures for the attack.
It was based on racism.
Well, and because I'm guessing they saw people taking pictures.
I have not. No. They couldn't even get close to the airfields. They had everything fenced off.
Right, but you get over a hill and you can take pictures or look at it through binoculars and...
You can look at it through binoculars, but you can't take pictures.
Okay, you look through binoculars and then take stuff down.
You had any idea what the price of camera was in 1941?
Yeah, it was ridiculous unless you had a really cheap thing for, like, stuff as far away as we are.
Pretty much. So a camera taking a photo of planes, panoramic view at that, from like 200 yards away.
So basically they saw binoculars and thought that people were going to...
Yeah. Essentially. And when, on the morning of December 7th, December 8th, Japanese time, because of the interstate line, when the Opana Point Railroad Station, a very, very new invention for America...
That nobody thought was actually going to do anything.
Even though the British and the Battle of Britain had been using it for at least 10 months at that point, not more. Found a large formation of planes coming in, and they radioed it to the Army Intelligence Headquarters. There's a contradiction in terms.
Well, it wasn't just that, right? It was also, they got reports from B-17s that were flying in.
That's what I'm getting to if you would let me talk.
Never!
They they reported a large formation of incoming planes, and of course they couldn't tell what planes they were because it was a primitive radar scope. And essentially, the newly promoted lieutenant in command said, "Yeah, don't worry about it." They thought it was just B-17s coming in because they were expecting a flight of 6 B-17s coming in from California.
But the problem is it was a little bit too big to be B-17s.
And they noticed the size discrepancy, but they didn't report it. Upon a point toward the intercept station, didn't report it at all.
And of course, then they also had another spotter, which was that training flight, wasn't it, with the random
Which
one?
was a civilian flight school. They didn't. They spotted the aircraft, yeah, but they didn't have any way to contact U.S. Military
Yeah, because
intelligence.
civ aircraft really didn't even have. They were flying a biplane, weren't they? That had no radio equipment.
Oh yeah. I mean, they had short-range radio for civilian frequencies, but they couldn't message Pearl Harbor command. And the first wave consisted of 172 Japanese Imperial aircraft.
Still on the flyer, you want the next picture.
You're supposed to keep changing. You can't. Yeah, never mind. Yep, no. I'm getting the same. Yep.
I know. Keep...
Here we go. So this was Pearl Harbor at the time during the attack, taken by one of the attacking Japanese planes in the first wave. Now you'll notice over here in the splash in the center on the north point of Fort Island is a bomb striking water.
Right there?
Yes. Now, I believe these are the battleships California, Nevada, Oklahoma, and Pennsylvania on a row. And you can see at least one dive bomber here peeling off towards the right of that splash. Yeah. And see another attacking aircraft on the far right of your screen. In the air. No. Far right. Far right.
Is that supposed to be the left?
No. Far right. Over here. You do know left from right, don't you?
Oh, it's very tiny, that's why. You're talking right there.
No. Right here. Underneath the oil fields.
Oh. That's almost cut off.
No, it's not. That's a good inch. Right here.
Yeah, I can barely see that myself. Moving on.
Right here.
Oh, that's what I was pointing at.
I couldn't tell. Okay. Anyway.
Hmm.
Now, this first wave consisted of at least 33 Val dive bombers, VAL, Victor Alpha Lima, which were very slow, but again, they had next to no retaliatory aircraft to speak of.
Yeah, I know. Just
Yeah. Now, Pearl Harbor itself is only about 40 feet deep. One might ask how they can launch torpedoes without shallow water. Well, let me tell you about the introduction of the new Mark 41 long lance torpedo, which was specially modified with wooden slats and a modified motor.
yeah, you got to give them credit for their ingenuity.
They leveled off at least 15 to 20 feet before rising to a depth of only about 10 feet or so below the waterline and striking their target like within seconds.
Now, the reason this was so, I guess you would call it sucker punchy, is kind of for two reasons. Number one, it was a Sunday, wasn't it?
It was a Sunday, which means everything was closed. All officers were asleep or at church or playing their Sunday games like polo or golf. I think General Short was actually out playing polo on his horse.
I thought he was playing golf.
Polo.
Ah.
because he had a huge polo field behind his house.
And problem number 2 is the Japanese in DC goofed.
Well, they didn't really goof so much as they, this is where we get into conspiracy theory a bit, because, the 14th part of the negotiation message was, actually their declaration of war. And the translator took his sweet time typing it out and translating it into English.
Well, I thought it was heavy security because they didn't want the Americans to get to it.
No, they're going to deliver it.
No.
They were ordered to deliver it at no later than 1 p.m. Eastern Time. However, it wasn't delivered until 4 p.m., which would have meant it at would have made it at roughly 10 a.m. Hawaiian time.
So, whether they took a long time, whether they had problems, it doesn't matter. Bad stuff happened because of that.
So basically, the first wave consists of, like I said, 33 Val dive bombers, at least 22 to 25 Mitsubishi A6M Zero fighters, and the rest were composed of a variety of level and mostly torpedo planes at that point.
And most of them came from this, right?
Yes, this is the...
Oh, well, that was a battleship.
Wait. Do you want to get show? This is the Navy battleship Hiroshima. The aircraft carrier Kaga, which was one of the high points of the Kido Butai, which was a carrier striking force. Hitokapu Bay, that's what it was. Hitokapu Bay. That's where he departed from, in the Kuril Islands, and the battleship Hiei. Now, you gotta keep in mind, the battleships and the cruisers were meant as escorts in this one.
They would come into play later on in the war.
But one is more of a fair fight, so to speak. This was one of the 6 carriers. This was the Kaga. But the ultimate flagship was the Kagi. I don't have photos of the Kagi, but I'll cover that one a little bit later, probably when we get back from Europe.
When we cover Midway. Speaking of all the directions that you were talking about, ta-da!
So this was the first and second wave, defined in a map essentially. It was detected at 136 miles out. They would have had time to intercept, or at least defend, but they chose not to because they were convinced it was a fight of B-17s coming in.
Yeah, because they had never really used the radar that much, because they did no testing with it. It's just, here, we're putting up the radar. I
believe it was more laziness on the part of the radar operators.
Or their commanding officers.
Yeah, the intercept officers. So basically, the Japanese carriers were not that far away. They were only about 100 miles out from Midway, or not Midway, sorry, from Oahu, when they launched their fighters, their aircraft essentially, all total.
Well, there wasn't really anybody scouting because none of them expected stuff, so they could pretty much get in.
I just said that.
Just outside visual range.
I just said that.
I used different words.
They came in over the north point of Oahu and attacked Midway from over land, essentially. The only ones who came in over water after coming in, that would be thrown around, essentially, were the torpedo planes. The level and dive bombers attacked from high altitude, about 20,000 feet up, and dove in at overland at point A, right here.
Now, they had also studied the terrain a lot, because didn't they use the mountainous terrain as cover?
They use it as cover, and they use it as a guidepost.
Until they reached this. Right?
Essentially, until they reached Fort Island and the Battleship Row and the Naval Air Base. So when they came in, they encountered a variety of resistance, nothing heavy, obviously, but enough resistance to give them pause, essentially, at first. Including SBD Dauntless dive bombers from the neighboring USS Enterprise, which was the only carrier on patrol in the area.
But they never were able to find her, were they?
No. That's why the Big E escaped and lived to fight their day. So, they basically shot down these planes easily. This gives a good description of the battleship losses. You have the attack targets in the first wave being the USS California, Maryland, Oklahoma, Tennessee, West Virginia, Arizona, Nevada, Pennsylvania. Let's see. Yep, Fort Allen Naval Air Station being at the center, and Hickam Field at the south of your screen.
Yeah. The interesting thing is that this is where I personally vote that the Japanese made a blunder. They ignored the oil storage tanks, but that was because they chose not to do a third wave.
Not only that was the short-term excuse. Mostly it was because they figured the war would be over so quickly that the resources and the tanks would not be needed or worried about.
If it had been me, I probably would have smacked everything, including the Navy Yard and the submarine base.
They were supposed to. In fact, that was the Yamamoto's orders, that they attack all key priority targets. Among the top of the list were the carriers, but the carriers were not present.
So that's when they decided to go after the battleships and everything else.
Well, battleships were on the list. Battleships were simply lower on the list. But when their primary targets were not there, they moved down the list. Now, at Hickam Field alone, over 78 Army aircraft were destroyed, notably P-38s, P-30 Hawks, and P-40 Warhawks.
I think, didn't 2 of them get off the ground?
And I have one picture coming up.
It's actually a little bit later. First, we're going to get to see what happens to the battleships.
Oh yes, this is the Arizona, struck by at least 6 armor-piercing bombs.
This is the one that rotated upside down and sunk, right? With everybody aboard?
Rotated upside down, sunk, exploded. Well, exploded first. Broke in half. Rotated upside down, started to sink, rotated back up, broke apart again, exploded again. That's more of a muted explosion because it was underwater. And then it fell to the bottom.
And this was another thing that Bay got a little bit right, wasn't it?
No.
Was it covered in Tora? I
It
know
was.
Okay. And how many men were entombed?
Almost 2,000.
Yeah. So, for those of you who sit there and talk about what happened on 9/11, imagine a smaller space with add water and darkness.
Imagine screaming men realizing their death was coming, trying desperately to get out. As the space full of fire and water, and they could not leave.
And only about half of them could swim. If they're lucky. It was
but
actually...
every naval personnel can swim.
No. I think that was actually put into effect after this.
I was kidding.
But speaking of other things...
Now, this was actually the...
Was this the one that tried to escape?
Yes, this was the California.
Yeah.
Under fire, she was eventually beached.
Yeah. Which, that was just insane.
Considering that when the captain was killed, the lieutenant commander of the ship took over and managed to drive her near the mouth of the harbor, but beached her before she sunk and blocked the harbor for months.
Yeah. So in essence, that man saved Pearl Harbor single-handedly.
Almost, yeah.
But yeah, going to more. This is some of the firefighting.
Now, it's important to remember, 6 of the 8 battleships sunk at Pearl Harbor were raised. They would later fight in the war. What they would call the California Revenge Tour.
Was this the Oklahoma?
This was the Nevada.
That's right. But yeah.
California was essentially sunk, beached, by 3 torpedoes and 2 bomb hits.
Because then you also had the West Virginia, the Pennsylvania, Oklahoma.
You had the
Well, here, let's go back a couple.
Tennessee, West Virginia, Maryland, Oklahoma, Arizona, Nevada, Pennsylvania.
And we'll get to an actual list later on. So, sorry for the quick movement, you guys. Just going through the pictures.
So this was a former land-based SBD that was destroyed in the attack in the second wave of total of 306 aircraft. 428 aircraft were launched by the Japanese, but the remaining 127 were, 118 were kept for cap. That's combat air patrol. Just in case.
And that one got hit by a near miss.
It did get hit by near miss and largely burned the pilot alive.
And you can also tell the materials. It was made out of wooden fabric. Yay! Wooden fabric monoplane.
It was a Vindicator bomber. It was designed to be light and designed to essentially drop a bomb.
Yeah. Of course, when we talked about the two, pardon the language,
And you can tell it's a naval aircraft because you can see underneath the tail hook, or remains of the tail hook, towards the after the aircraft.
Yeah, right.
What are you doing?
I was trying to get it so the mouse was there so I could show them the tail hook.
Yeah. And the only reason that survived, largely, was because it was on the underside of the aircraft.
And it was metal.
Yeah.
It was probably one of the few parts. It's kind of why the front cowling survived too, because that was metal. And that's probably why the wings survived too.
Oh yeah. This is in the process of being ready for takeoff when it was hit.
Yep.
The only good thing is that the pilot, who you really can't see at all, because it was instantly incinerated.
Well, yeah, because it was fully gassed up
Mhm.
and the kerosene basically cooked.
I mean, it was a largely instantaneous death.
Mm-hmm.
When you're killed like that, you have barely enough time to ponder what's happening.
Yeah. He was lucky, unlike some of the people who basically got chewed up and shot on the ground.
Oh yeah.
But getting to some of what I would call the quintessential badasses of the battle.
So here we have a notable Army Air pilot, George Welch, Lieutenant George Welch, who managed to take off just like maybe 3 minutes into the attack. When the ground crew told him to evacuate the area, he said, "Fuck that."
What wasn't he and his cohort actually not even on Hickam? They had parked the planes up somewhere else.
They had been moved to Wheeler.
Yeah,
And Wheeler was on the attack list and was attacked, but it was attacked in the second or third wave.
Yeah.
Or second wave. Sorry.
Of course, this is where you get the iconic scene that wasn't actually real, with Josh Hartnett and Ben Affleck racing in, what was it, Pontiac or something?
Yeah, it was actually in real life a Buick.
Yeah.
And Welch drove his Buick at 115 miles per hour beyond safety limits for the vehicle to Bills Field and took off with 30 caliber ammunition. And when he ran out of 30 caliber after downing 2 Kate bombers, he returned to, I think it was the remains of Hickam Field, and got reloaded with 50 cal ammunition and proceeded to down 6 Zeros.
And it was the same thing with his partner, who just, I think both of them survived.
Oh yeah, his partner went on to become a general in the Air Force.
Yep.
And Welch survived also. He went on to become a NASA test pilot, and the first human being to achieve Mach 1.
Yeah. All because they just decided to pull crazy.
And you can't tell me this was all for love of country. No. This was for various reasons, means.
Rage, survival, and because during the entire drive, they got to see ground strafing runs, and I believe they almost got hit by a couple of them, didn't they?
The maddening thing was Welch and his cohort, Taylor, I believe the last one it was, were denied the Medal of Honor because they had technically disobeyed orders.
Yeah.
Because while they were awarded the Silver Star, and they were awarded the Airman's Medal, and they were awarded commendations for bravery.
And Purple Hearts, I think, because they got shot up too, didn't they?
They were denied the Congressional Medal of Honor because they had technically disobeyed orders by going to their planes instead of evacuating.
And also because General Martin Short didn't want to have egg on his face. Like, it was Short and I think, who was the...
Kimmel.
Yeah, Short and Kimmel, especially Short, were so absolutely arrogant that one could honestly lay all the deaths at their feet.
Kimmel wanted to stay on because he recognized his mistake at Pearl Harbor as commander of the naval contingent, an admiral essentially. But Roosevelt decided someone needed to be blamed, so he took Kimmel and removed him from the post of commander at Pearl Harbor. And replaced him with Admiral Chester C. Nimitz.
I think he shoved Kimmel back to Washington, didn't he?
Mm-hmm. He rode desk and retired.
Yeah. Short, on the other hand, he just kind of fades into oblivion, doesn't he?
Pretty much, yeah. There's very little on Short. Even his Wikipedia bio page is just blank.
Which means he probably decided to do something and he was removed, possibly violently.
No, we don't do that in America.
Well, violently meaning that he was court-martialed.
That's not violent, it's bureaucratic.
Yeah. Anyway, the list of doom.
Battleships, casualties in the aftermath of the battle, cataloged by the U.S. Navy and the Materials Department. USS Arizona. Rear Admiral Isaac Kidd's flagship of Battleship Division 1. Hit by 4 armor-piercing bombs, exploded. Total loss not salvaged. 1,177 dead. Okay, I was off by 700.
You can still visit the Arizona at the bottom of Pearl Harbor to this day.
You can visit the Arizona Memorial. It's a very, very hallowed place of honor. I believe tickets are relatively inexpensive. They're like $25-30 a person. It's now essentially a museum. Treated as one, I should say. Treated as one. USS Oklahoma, hit by 5 torpedoes. Capsized, total loss. Salvaged, sank en route to scrapping, May 4, 1947. 429 dead. USS West Virginia, hit by 2 bombs. 7 torpedoes, sunk. Returned to service in July 1944.
So that means the Oklahoma was left at the bottom during the entirety of World War II, then raised in 1947 or so. And they tried to salvage it, but they couldn't make it. West Virginia, like you said.
USS California, hit by 2 bombs, 2 torpedoes, sunk, returned to service in 1944, a year and a half before war's end. 104 dead. USS Nevada, hit by 6 bombs, 1 torpedo, beached, returned to service in 1942.
Yeah, so it was the Nevada that was beached, not the California.
Yeah.
So we're incorrect on that. That's why you have research.
USS Pennsylvania, Admiral Hudson D. Kimball's flagship of U.S. Pac Fleet. In dry dock with Caston down, hit by 1 bomb and debris from USS Caston. Remained in service, 9 dead.
From shrapnel, I assume, right?
Tennessee. Hit by 2 bombs, returned to service in February 1942. USS Maryland, hit by 2 bombs, returned to service in February 1942. 4 dead, including float plane pilot shot down.
Yep. Again, another ballsy person. If the float plane took off in the middle of a battle, that's some impressive work. Too bad he didn't survive.
Yeah.
Because for anybody who's seen some of the models, that was not an easy takeoff.
So, next on the list, we have the less important targets for the Japanese. Cruisers and destroyers. USS Helena, hit by 1 torpedo. Returned to service in January 1942. About, oh gosh, February, March, April, May, June. 5 months before Midway.
Well, and to give you an idea from the time that it broke, December 1941, they got that fixed in a month. But again, that's what happens when Americans get pissed off.
And when you're only hit by one torpedo, it's minor damage.
It depends.
For heavy cruise?
Yeah, that's fair.
Raleigh, USS Raleigh, hit by one torpedo, returned to service in February 1942 after 2 months in dry dock.
Helena was the priority.
USS Honolulu, near miss, light damage, remained in service.
Otherwise known as, we're giving you the giant middle finger and coming after you.
Which means Honolulu had some deck repairs done, and that's about it.
Yeah.
USS Kesson, in dry dock with downs in USS Pennsylvania. Hit by one bomb, burned, reconstructed and returned to service in 1944.
February.
3 years later.
Again, was a destroyer, a little bit of a lower priority.
Faster than a cruiser battleship, but less armed and armored.
Mm-hmm.
Downs, in dry dock with Kesson, Pennsylvania. Caught fire from Kesson, burned, reconstructed, and returned to service in 1943, a year later.
More than likely, it was probably burned down to the metal, and they had to rebuild it.
Then the keel.
Yeah, keel, thank you.
If you guys want any additional information on warships and how they function and work and are built and deployed, please see Drucknefeld's channel. He does a great view and overview and examination of pretty much everything in naval service. I will link his channel below later.
Also, what about that one nerd who does the Big E? You know?
Oh yeah, the Enterprise series and the Yamato series and Bismarck series. Yeah, I'll link him too. He's funny.
Oh yeah, he's absolutely hilarious.
Yeah, he's obsessed with anime, and he's also a good friend of Drachenfell.
Yeah. All of his information is accurate, though, which is wonderful.
The name, I'm not butchering it, is literally Drachnifel. Drachnifel. Let's see, USS Helm, underway to West Lock, damaged by 2 near-miss bombs. Continued patrol and dry docked for minor repairs, January 15, 1942, and set sail again on January 20th, a week later. USS Shaw, hit by 3 bombs, returned to service in June 1942. About the same time as Midway.
And then
we have an aerial view of modern day Pearl Harbor, comparatively modern day. You can see the Arizona Memorial just north here. Yeah, it's the little white thing over here.
Yeah, for some reason that picture didn't go big. Boo!
Yeah, you have a problem with things going big.
So the Japanese, but that's not the point.
No, you can tell it's a modern picture because in the lower...
Apparently the rotation of the scroll wheel does that.
Yeah, you can tell this is a modern picture because in the lower center of your page, or of your computer, browser thing, whatever, phone, tablet, whatever you're doing this on, you can see a modern carrier. Now, I don't know the name of this carrier, obviously, but this is a modern carrier, of course. You can tell the white blips on the carrier are fighters, and the way that she's shaped, you know this is a modern carrier because of the angular shape. Again, for more information on warships, please see Drucknefeld's page. He does a great overview. I will give you a warning, his overviews and videos are very long.
Yeah. So, sadly, boys and girls, there is no really quick and dirty way of doing this. If you want one that's kind of like that, I would say watch Tora 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 if you want the exciting and the explosions. If you're a masochist, watch Pearl Harbor. God help you.
If you want an overview of Pearl Harbor, the movie, without actually subjecting yourself to the pain of watching it, I would advise you watch Nostalgia Critics' review of Pearl Harbor. Very good, actually.
Didn't that one British guy who reviewed the historical movies do that?
Yeah, and he linked to Nostalgia Critics for that.
Ah.
He reviewed Tora 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 instead.
Hmm.
See, the big difference between Tora 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 and Pearl Harbor is that Tora 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 is actually accurate.
Whereas
Pearl Harbor is all style, no substance, much like Michael Bay himself.
But he did well at the Transformers movies.
And he should stick with Transformers.
Yeah, he doesn't even like to do those anymore. They kicked him off that too, I think. Anyway.
Good.
Anyway.
But yeah, basically Yamamoto left the overall active command and control to his Chief of Staff, Vice Admiral Ryunosuke Kusaka.
And that was the one who made the mistake about not doing the third run, right?
No, that was Admiral Nagumo.
Wait, so Nagumo started screwing up that early?
Oh yeah.
The same-
Rear Admiral Chuichi Nagumo.
So Nagumo, the same guy who absolutely messed up the Battle of Midway, was screwing up that early.
Because of his caution and timidity. Because he was trained and raised and went through the academy with the mindset that it is better to be cautious and safe and careful.
I did that on purpose. Go ahead. Continue.
And safe with the
Continue. I'm
yeah.
making you big.
with the overarching goal of playing around what your opponent will do more than anything else, and not making a mistake. And you can't do that in military science.
Well,
You really can't. It will screw you up every time.
wasn't there a very, very important line where it's no plan survives contact with the enemy?
Yes, that was in Murphy's Laws of Combat, and was originally created and orchestrated in the Korean War between the U.S. and North Korea, and propagated and made popular overall through Vietnam and continuing on through modern day. But it's been proven correct time and time again. Chuichi Nagumo only got his command because he was the senior officer in charge time and time again of any campaign. Now, he did survive for a long, long time through the end of the war. In fact, he was present on the battleship USS Missouri when Japan signed the instrument of surrender with
MacArthur?
General MacArthur.
Yeah, I'm gonna hold my opinions quietly about that guy.
Yeah, I'm still under the opinion that we should have invaded mainland Japan more than anything else. And it would have cost American lives. Yeah, well, at that point in time, we'd already cost millions of American lives anyway. A couple more million would not have made a difference.
Well, and honestly, the exact same thing that happened over in Germany would have happened too, because you would have had the Russians starting from the north and us starting from the south.
Mhm.
And
And Stalin already said at that point in time he was more than willing to let the Americans go to Tokyo, since we let them go to Moscow.
yeah,
Because at that point in time, no one knew we had the atom bombs.
yeah, but I mean, I honestly think that while Yamamoto wouldn't have predicted that the atom bombs would have been a thing, he predicted the Americans were going to be drastic in their way of handling things. Didn't he have like a big line that he used?
He said, "I have traveled widely in America, my friends. I know that their industrial might is awesome. It would be a mistake to underestimate them and their ferocity and their courage. Many of you do, and I respect your opinions, but they are wrong. If we do not respect the Americans, overall, they will win. Our only hope, our only chance, I am convinced that our only chance of victory is a conclusive and decisive strike at Pearl Harbor."
Well, and then after they attacked, didn't he have another line that was attributed to him? The sleeping giant?
Yeah, I'm convinced that all we have done is to awaken the sleeping giant and fill him with a terrible resolve. This may or may not be a tribute to him. We have found no proof of it in his diaries or memoirs.
Though, it would make sense that something like that would have been said by somebody, because that's kind of what happened.
Although the next line that I'm going to quote here was attributed to Rear Admiral Nagumo, but was often cited historically by Yamamoto before his death. After reviewing the Battle of Midway, after extra reports, he has said that these Americans sacrificed themselves like samurai. After reviewing the second day, when Americans had thrown more than 14 crews of airmen at the Kirubutai and had sacrificed everyone, not one bomb even came close.
Yeah. So.
Because I'll cover this in a future video, but at Midway there was no excuse for us winning. We should have lost the battle. By all accounts, we should have lost that battle. The Japanese had everything going for them: power, experience, confidence, materials, supplies, air crew, the experience of the airmen. They hit everything. They even had numbers on their side. We had 3 carriers. We had Yorktown, Enterprise, and Hornet. Hornet had just gotten back from delivering 16 B-25 bombers.
I still have the opinion on who to blame. You know who I blame for it. Nagumo.
Yeah. Yeah, we didn't win the Battle of Midway. The Japanese lost it.
But yes, that is for the time when we cover Midway, which
Yes.
will be back when we're back from Germany.
Yeah. So, oh god, it's already almost 6:30. I have not had dinner yet, and I need to get up early for work. So we're going to call this. I will have a lot more information on my blog coming up this weekend. And gosh, I have another blog coming up for after that. So I encourage you all to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel.
Follow her Patreon. You get behind the scenes videos. There's more actual shenanigans.
And guys, it really doesn't cost much to subscribe to my Patreon. We're talking maybe $4 or $5 a month.
Yeah.
As much as you spend a cup of coffee at Starbucks.
And you get access to other things. Those will be listed on the Patreon for the different tiers, and some of them are quite fun goodies.
Oh yeah. So until next time, guys, I will see you in the air, and please take care of each other, be safe, and I love you all very much. And I will see you all, like I said, in the air.